Chapter 15. The Antique Market. Fatty has a family heirloom, a jade pendant, which he always wears with him. This piece of jade was given to his father by a leader of the Northwest Field Army. Back in the day, this commander led his troops into Xinjiang and wiped out a gang of bandits in Naya Oasis, and this jade was on the bandit chief's person. Although it is called a jade pendant, its shape doesn't seem quite like one. Its design is quaint and bizarre, with random patterns carved on it, resembling a map or text. It's unknown what its actual use was. Fatty had shown me this jade many times. We used to have quite a few antiques at my home, and when I was young, my grandfather told me a lot about gold, stone, and jade artifacts. However, I can't make out the value or age of this piece of jade. Fatty wanted to sell the jade to invest in his business, but I stopped him. This was passed on to you by your father. If we can avoid selling it, then don't sell it. We are not at the end of our road yet, and if things get really bad, I can ask for money from my family. Anyway, the old folks at home have received a lot of back pay. We spotted a vacant spot by the side of the road, parked the tricycle there, and bought 2 bowls of stewed buns for lunch nearby. Stewed buns is a soup made from pork innards, full of intestines and the likes, served with chopped buns. Each bowl costs just over 1 yuan, both economical and cost-effective. I put too much chili in my bowl, to the point where my eyes were tearing up and my nose was running, my tongue sticking out, gasping for breath. After eating a few mouthfuls, Fatty said to me, "Old Hu, I wanted to bring you out these years to make a fortune. However, the national economy has been revitalized now, and the situation is not just good, but excellent. Unlike the time when I first started my stall, Beijing had less than 3 places selling pop song cassettes. I fear I have burdened you a bit. Your father was a regimental commander before he retired, enjoying treatment of a deputy municipal-level cadre. You might as well go back and have your father pull some strings, get you a job in the office, and stop suffering with me." I patted Fatty's big belly and said, "Bro, let me be frank with you. If I really wanted to go to the office, I could do it any time, but I don't dare to. You know why?
I'm scared.
If I just stayed put in one place, my mind would be filled with nothing but my fallen comrades. Their figures would keep flashing before my eyes, and seeing them tears my intestines out with pain. Now that we're running around busy with some small trades, at least we can divert our thoughts a bit. Otherwise, I might just go insane. I've been in the army for so many years, and if there's one thing I learned, it's morale boosting." I consoled Fatty. "We are not that bad off now. At least we still have stewed buns to eat. You remember the days I was in the Kunlun Mountains? Now those were real tough times. One spring festival, everyone was homesick and a lot of the new recruits were crying covertly. Seeing this, the commander hurriedly had everyone make a meal of dumplings to improve the food quality. The dumplings, as unbelievable as it sounds, were made entirely of meat. Without any vegetables in Kunlun Mountains, veggies were even pricier than gold. But there was plenty of meat. As the altitude was too high, water couldn't boil there. The dumplings were partially cooked. The meat inside was still red. Can you imagine the taste? I ate 70 or 80 dumplings that night, nearly bursting myself out of gluttony. Such was the longing for cooked food. Those years I barely had any. The next day, I had to be taken to the hospital. I couldn't digest it. My stomach felt like it was made of iron. Do you remember what they say in Red Rock? The eve of the revolution's victory is always the coldest. Our business cannot always be like this. If tapes aren't selling well, we can sell other things. Just as Chairman Mao said, if we can't scale Mount Lu, we can ascend Jinggang Mountain. If the Liberation Army won't follow me, I'll seek out the Red Army." I turned on the tape recorder, and the 2 large speakers began to play music. The sound quality was terrible due to the worn-out recorder. Even beautiful songs sounded like they were being played through a broken gong. However, neither Fatty nor I found it unpleasant. It was still better than our own singing. Fatty, brightened by my persuasive pep talk, bounced his leg to the rhythm and began to hawk our wares with gusto. "Take a look, have a gander. Genuine imports from Hong Kong and Taiwan," slashing arms and legs off the price, practically giving it away. Passers-by and neighboring vendors turned their curious gazes toward us, and a man selling antiques from his stall nearby came over to greet us with a smile, revealing a large gold tooth. He pulled out a cigarette and offered one to each of us. Taking the cigarette, I remarked, "Wow, this is quite fancy. A Marlboro, all the way from America." Gold Tooth lit my cigarette, saying, "Gents, selling pop songs in the Panjiayuan market. You're the only two in all of Beijing who would have thought of it. You really are one of a kind." After a deep drag, exhaling a stream of smoke from my nose, I told Gold Tooth, "Don't tease us. We're just here to duck away from the business bureau for a bit. We stumbled upon this spot, and we'll be on our way soon." As it turned out, we were practically kin. Gold Tooth's family was from Hainan Island, and his father had previously been sent to work in Yunnan, moving there during the time when the People's Liberation Army marched south. His family roots were deeply tied with the 3rd Field Army. I learned that his father hadn't been an officer but a craftsman who had been forced into service by the nationalists. He ended up fighting in the famous Huaihai campaign only to defect and join the Liberation Army, later serving as a cook. He was injured in the Korean War, which left him paralyzed for life, and after the policy reforms, he moved from Hainan to Beijing, dabbling in antique trading. Listening is better than talking, I thought to myself, hearing his sweet words about being an artisan. But I knew better. Was he not just a tomb raider? Others might not pick up on it, but I was raised by my grandfather, who always talked about these things. A true expert needs only to reach out their hand to know what's there. Curious, I asked Gold Tooth if his father, as a touch gold captain, ever encountered what we call a big zongzi, a term among tomb raiders, akin to the coded language of bandits who won't outright admit to murder or arson. A zongzi referred to a well-preserved corpse that hadn't decayed. Encountering a big zongzi meant trouble, dealing with zombies, evil spirits, or the like. A dry zongzi meant the corpse had decayed to the bone, and a meaty zongzi indicated a body with valuable items still on it. Upon hearing this, Gold Tooth looked at me with newfound respect and insisted on treating Fatty and me to mutton hot pot at a restaurant named Dong Si, where we could discuss matters further. So, we packed up our things and headed to the eatery.